A frigid mechanical voice echoed in my skull, a stark contrast to the burning survival instinct screaming through my veins. Host life signs detected at critical instability. Strong desire to live confirmed. Binding conditions met. The ultimate sycophant system is activating. Binding successful. Hello, I am your exclusive System 007. From this day forward, let's conquer this gilded cage with love and flattery. The coldness of that voice was a perfect match for the ice-cold marble pressed against my forehead. My name is Ethan Cross. 1 second ago, I was a top FBI agent, deep undercover, playing a high-stakes chess game with a cartel boss. The next, a stray bullet I never saw coming sent my world black. Now, I've woken up on my knees. The clothes on my body are some kind of scratchy, burlap attendant's uniform. The air is thick with the head-spinning scent of sandalwood. And right in front of my face is a pair of elegant slippers embroidered with a golden phoenix. Putting it all together with a voice in my head. Okay, I am alive, but maybe not in the way I'd hoped. Did I just time travel or get ice-skied and into the body of a court eunuch, of all things? Seriously? I'm a decorated agent, a model citizen, and this is the hand I get dealt? A palace eunuch? Couldn't I at least get a trial period? Start off as a prince or something? As my inner monologue went into overdrive, the owner of those slippers let out a soft huff, a sound like clinking ice cubes. Lift your head. The voice was beautiful, but colder than the floor I was kneeling on. I stiffly raised my head, and my breath hitched. I'd never seen a face like that. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains, her eyes like cold stars. A sharp, aristocratic nose sat above thin, pale lips. She wore a severe black gown embroidered with dragons, her hair pinned up by an elaborate crown. Power and beauty, two forces that should have clashed, merged perfectly in her, creating an aura so intense it felt hard to breathe, let alone look at her directly. An empress. The word slammed into my brain. Fragments of memory, not my own, told me this was Empress Seraphina, the first ruling empress in the Athenian Empire's history. She'd ascended the throne at just 20, crushing all enemies, foreign and domestic, with an iron fist. She was also, by all accounts, a notorious tyrant. The kind of person who could be smiling at you 1 second and ordering her guards to feed you to the hounds the next. Damn, she's gorgeous enough to be a Hollywood A-lister. But that aura, she could probably make Jeff Bezos kneel and call her ma'am. Wait, she's staring at me. Why does her gaze feel so penetrating? It's like she's looking right through my clothes. Empress Seraphina's eyes narrowed slightly. The crimson pen she'd been using to sign documents paused mid-air. She looked at me, then asked a question that came completely out of left field. Tell me, do you find this marble floor uncomfortable? Huh, I said, my brain blue screening. How did she know what I was thinking? Coincidence? Has to be a coincidence. Calm down, Cross. You're a professional. You've been trained for this. You've stared down a dozen armed narcos without breaking a sweat. This is nothing. Seraphina ignored my confusion and tried another question. Or perhaps you have an opinion on the color of my gown. I instinctively glanced at the black gown with its golden dragons. It's black. What other color could it be? The embroidery is top-notch, though way more detailed than the stuff you see at the Met. And the cut. A top designer in my world would kill for that pattern. Your Majesty, I stammered, trying to sound like the lowly servant I appear to be. Your gown is magnificent, a symbol of the Empire's supreme authority. Flattery. That's what you do with the boss. Lay it on thick. The corner of Seraphina's mouth twitched into a barely there smile. Is that so? She said, setting down her pen. I thought you might have found it as tacky as a Pepto-Bismol pink pantsuit. Boom. My entire worldview shattered. She wasn't guessing. She could actually hear me. Oh my God. Is this what they call nightmare mode? I'm not just a transmigrator with a questionable identity in front of a homicidal empress. I'm a walking, talking toot-sound machine with my inner thoughts broadcast on surround sound. This is like trying to tap dance on a cliff's edge. System 007. Host, please remain calm. The Empress's emotional fluctuations are minor. No immediate danger to your life is detected. Issuing newbie mission. Gain the Empress's attention within the next 10 minutes. Reward for success. Newbie Starter Pack X1. Penalty for failure. Experience 1 session of true groin-related sorrow. You call this no danger? And what the hell is groin-related sorrow? Thanks, but I'm pretty sure I'm already living it. A cold sweat broke out across my back, soaking my cheap uniform. I couldn't just stand here and wait to die. If she can read my mind, then I have only one choice. I have to be crazier than she is. A desperate, insane plan formed in my head. A normal person's reaction to having their mind read would be fear, denial, trying to hide. But a good undercover agent knows how to exploit any information gap, even one that's working against you. She can hear my inner thoughts? Fine. I'll just turn my mind into a second stage. So, while my face maintained a mask of pure terror, my inner monologue began its Broadway debut. Oh my God, she can hear my thoughts. What an incredible honor. It must mean we have a psychic connection. We are a match made in heaven. I mean, a divinely appointed ruler and subject. That my humble soul could be graced by Her Majesty's attention. I can die with no regrets. Your Majesty, you are my sun, my moon, my guiding star, the sole purpose of my pathetic existence. I poured every ounce of schmaltz I'd ever seen in cheesy soap operas into an internal monologue of a deranged, obsessive fanboy. And just as I'd hoped, Serafina's expression changed. A flicker of confusion, and was that disgust crossed her frozen features. She picked up a document, as if trying to use her work to shield herself from my mental pollution. Even the way she reads a decree is captivating. That focused gaze, that slight furrow of her brow. It's a testament to her wisdom and diligence. With such a brilliant ruler, how could our empire not prosper? I want to offer her everything I have, including my humble, yet passionate, heart. Snap! The pen in Serafina's hand cracked in two. She looked up, her expression a complex mixture of emotions, like she was observing some newly discovered, bizarre species of insect. You, what is your name? A jolt of victory shot through me. It worked. She's interested in me as a person. Your Majesty, this servant is called Ethan, I said, using the name that came to mind. Ethan, she repeated, then waved a dismissive hand. From now on, you will attend to the ink and scrolls here in the royal study. Do not leave my side without my express permission. System 007 ding. Newbie mission complete. Newbie Starter Pack X1 has been deposited in your system inventory. I fought back the overwhelming urge to whoop with joy and relief, instead bowing my head to the floor. This servant obeys. Thank you for your boundless grace, your Majesty. Yes, I am alive. I bet on the right horse. When faced with a mind reader, the best disguise is no disguise. Just hit them with the most unhinged personality you can imagine. From this day forward, I am the Empress's #1 sycophant. Serafina rubbed her temples, a look of utter exhaustion on her face, as if she was questioning whether she was still dreaming. She gave me one last, long look, a look that seemed to say, let's see what other nonsense you can come up with. And I, standing meekly to the side, was already calculating how to use this mind-reading cheat to carve out a path to survival. No, to flatter my way to a bright future in this viper's nest of palace. Life in the royal study was far more stimulating than I had anticipated. My primary duties were grinding ink, fetching documents, and standing perfectly still like a piece of furniture while the Empress worked. My mind, however, was a nonstop circus, because the ultimate sycophant system was a relentless taskmaster. System 007, daily mission issued. Praise the Empress's makeup today using 3 different literary devices. Time limit, 15 minutes. System 007, random mission triggered. The Empress is drinking tea. Approach to refill her cup and describe the scene with a line of poetry. System 007, urgent mission. Director Marcus Vance is about to enter the study. He will attempt to probe you. Without revealing yourself, convince him you are a complete and utter idiot. On the outside, I was a model of subservience, head bowed, hands tucked to my sleeves. On the inside, I was in a fierce debate with the system. Dude, you call this a sycophant system? It's a suicide by Empress system. Makeup? I'm a guy who can't tell the difference between crimson and scarlet. And you want 3 literary devices? And poetry for tea? The only line I know is "that's the tea, sis." Is that going to work? System 007. Host is encouraged to complete missions with enthusiasm. Gentle reminder. Failure will trigger punishments, such as public faceplant. Nose First Edition. You win. And so, the royal study became the stage for a very strange performance. Serafina was reading a treatise on military strategy. My hands were grinding ink with the steadiness of a surgeon, my expression humble and proper. But my inner monologue had already started its show. Showtime. First, a metaphor. Your Majesty's eyebrows are like the most masterful brushstroke of a calligrapher, possessing both strength and grace. Your eyes are like the two brightest stars in the midnight sky, inspiring awe while pulling one into their depths. Your lips, like the freshest cherries in spring, still kissed with morning dew. That one might be a bit risky, scratch that. The hand Serafina used to turn the page faltered for a second. Second, parallelism. What causes the winter ice to melt? It is your Majesty's authority. What causes the 100 flowers to lose their color? It is your Majesty's beauty. What makes me willing to kneel at your feet? It is your Majesty's unparalleled charm. Her breathing seemed to deepen, just a little. Third, hyperbole. Your Majesty, your beauty is working overtime today. No, it's triple overtime. If beauty were a tax, you alone could fund the entire Imperial Army. If you were to smile at a mirror, I fear the reflection would fall in love with you. It was a tiny sound, almost imperceptible. I shot my head up and saw Serafina covering her mouth with her hand, her shoulders trembling slightly. Did she just laugh? Though she quickly regained her icy composure, I know what I saw. The eternally frozen tyrant. She laughed. System 007 ding. Daily mission complete. Flattery points plus 10. Current total, 10. Attaboy, Ethan. It's that killer charm. You can even make the Ice Queen crack a smile. You're a natural-born comedian. Serafina cleared her throat and shot me a cold glare. Grind the ink. And stop thinking such nonsense. Thinking about you. I immediately added the thought, then watched as the tips of her ears turned a suspicious shade of pink. She was totally blushing. This discovery made me bolder. So, the Empress wasn't invincible after all. She was just unaccustomed to someone communicating with her in this way. Just then, a voice announced from outside the doors. Director Marcus Vance requests an audience. Showtime. I immediately wiped all emotion from my face, replacing it with a look that was equal parts dull and sycophantic. Marcus Vance was a clean-shaven man in his 50s. He always wore a serene, Buddha-like smile, but his small, beady eyes glinted with cunning. He was the one from the original guy's memories who had brought him into the palace, and second only to the Empress in power. My deepest respects to Her Majesty, Vance said, bowing deeply. His gaze then slid over to me, seemingly by accident. Well now, if it isn't young Ethan. I heard you were promoted to the royal study. What a stroke of luck. Here we go. The smiling tiger is making his move. Time to play the part of a world-class moron. I put on a goofy, starstruck grin and bowed obsequiously. It's all thanks to you, Director. Her Majesty's grace is infinite. She saw that I was clever and put me to work with her scrolls. Vance's eyes narrowed. Serafina, sitting behind her desk, appeared to be reading, but I could see from the corner of my eye that she was watching us. She seemed just as curious as I was to see how her personal mind clown would handle this old fox. Clever. Vance's smile widened. Then let's test that cleverness. Tell me, does the sun shine brighter in the morning or in the evening? It was a trap. If I said morning, he'd say I was naive. If I said evening, he'd accuse me of having a dark heart. This old bastard. The best way to deal with a riddler is to outriddle him. I scratched my head, affecting a look of pure, simple-minded confusion. Director, I think. It depends on the person looking. Vance paused. Oh, and how is that? Well, for example, a great man like yourself, Director, powerful, respected, blessed by fortune. When you look at the sun, it's always shining at its brightest, a reflection of your own brilliance. I laid the praise on thick. Vance's smile tightened a little. I pressed on. But for a nobody like me, sometimes when I look up, it feels like the sun is hidden behind the clouds. But not anymore. I puffed out my chest with pride. Now that I have the honor of serving Her Majesty, Every day feels like high noon in my heart. So, you see, whether the sun is bright or dim all depends on who you hold in your heart. I nearly gagged on my own words. Perfect. I praised the old fox, humbled myself, and then pivoted to worshiping the Empress. I answered his question without getting trapped and hit my daily flattery KPI for the Empress. I'm a genius. Vance's expression had soured. He wanted to put me in my place, but I twisted it into a declaration of loyalty to Seraphina. If he argued, he'd be arguing against her. He could only force a dry laugh. Young Ethan is clever indeed. Behind the desk, Seraphina remained impassive, but I saw her fingers resting on the page of her book, tapping a light, rhythmic beat. System 007, ding. Urgent mission complete. Quick-wit skill proficiency +5. Having failed to make his point, Vance reported a few trivial matters to the Empress and then beat a hasty retreat. After he left, silence returned to the study. I thought the matter was over, but Seraphina suddenly spoke. Were those words you spoke just now from the heart? Obviously not. My entire brain was dedicated to figuring out how to BS my way through that and find a chance to escape. But my mouth said, as I dropped to my knees again, "Your Majesty," every word was from the depths of my soul. "This servant's heart belongs entirely and completely to you." Seraphina stared at me, her eyes deep and unreadable. "Is that so?" she said slowly. "Then what, exactly, is a donut and a KPI?" Damn it, I'd forgotten she could hear my modern slang. My brain kicked into hyperdrive, sweat beading on my brow. Your Majesty." I improvised wildly. Donut is a type of sweetbread from my home village. It's round and very delicious. And KPI? KPI it's an acronym from a foreign language. It means keep a passionate idea. My meaning was that one must always keep a passionate idea of serving your Majesty in one's heart. Holy crap, I'm a linguistic prodigy. I can't believe I pulled that off. The Academy owes me an Oscar for that performance. Seraphina was silent. She just stared at me, unblinking, for a full 30 seconds. Just as I was sure she was about to call the guards to have me dragged out and executed, she let out a soft sigh and waved her hand. "Get up. You don't have to be like this in front of me in the future." Then she added another sentence, her voice as light as a feather. "It's a bit loud." After being told I was a bit loud, I tried my best to tone it down. I attempted to control my inner commentary, focusing on bland thoughts like, "The weather is nice today," or "This is some high-quality ink." It didn't work. The more I tried to control it, the wilder my thoughts became. "Looks like Her Majesty has a new hairpin today, a white magnolia. It's pretty. I wonder if Chanel has a similar design. It would probably sell out instantly." Seraphina, deep in a report, subconsciously reached up and touched the hairpin. Man, being an empress must be exhausting. Reading all these boring reports all day. Look at this one from the Treasury. It's full of flowery, academic language, but the core message is just, "Boss, we're broke. Send money." Why make it so complicated? Seraphina picked up that specific report, her frown deepening. Then she tossed it aside with a thud, as if in complete agreement. "Sigh, I'm getting hungry. The royal cuisine sounds fancy, but it's kind of bland. I miss the pizza and taco trucks from back home. A good slice of pepperoni could make a man believe in God." Grumble. My stomach betrayed me with a loud growl. Seraphina looked up, her gaze meeting my mortified one. She asked, her face a perfect mask, "Hungry?" I shook my head frantically. "Not at all, Your Majesty. This servant is not hungry. My stomach, however, seems to have a mind of its own. Starving. I've had nothing but 2 sips of water since morning. Even a man of steel would be running on fumes." Seraphina stated flatly, "Serve the meal." Soon a lavish lunch was laid out, a dozen dishes a feast for the eyes and nose. According to protocol, I wasn't allowed to eat at the table. My job was to stand by and serve. Seraphina picked up her chopsticks, selected a delicious-looking piece of braised short rib, but instead of eating it, she placed it in an empty bowl in front of her. She did the same with some shrimp scampi, a crab cake, and a piece of pan-seared sea bass. She took a small portion from every dish, and then she pushed the bowl, piled high with delicacies, right in front of me. "Eat." I was stunned. The other attendants and maids in the room looked like their eyes were about to pop out of their heads. The Empress was sharing her food with an attendant? This was an unheard of honor. What the hell? Did the sun rise in the west today? Did the Ice Queen have a change of heart? Or is this my last meal? Is she finally tired of my mental pollution and wants to make sure I die on a full stomach? Seraphina's expression darkened for a split second. I told you to eat. Stop your incessant chattering. See? See? She's getting defensive. It's definitely my last meal. Oh well, might as well die happy. With a sense of impending doom, I picked up the chopsticks, grabbed the piece of short rib, and stuffed it into my mouth. It melted on my tongue, rich and savory. Delicious, my eyes lit up. Like a ravenous wolf, I devoured everything in the bowl, nearly licking it clean. Seraphina just watched me eat, not taking a single bite herself. Her expression was unreadable. It was like she was studying a rare and fascinating animal. Only after I'd finished did she leisurely pick up her own chopsticks and have a maid serve her a small bowl of plain rice porridge, which she ate in tiny, delicate sips. So this is how royalty eats. Just porridge. I guess when you have rich food every day, you get sick of it. Not me. I can make a feast out of a bowl of plain white rice. Seraphina's porridge-eating movements faltered again. After the meal, I was sent to the royal kitchens to return the dishes. It was my first time there. The place was a whirlwind of activity, with dozens of chefs shouting and sweating over massive stoves. The head of the kitchens was a portly man everyone called Chef Tony. The moment he saw me, his face split into a wide, greasy smile. Well, if it isn't attendant Ethan, what brings you to our humble kitchens? I knew the story of the Empress sharing her meal with me must have already spread like wildfire. In the palace, I was now a minor celebrity. This guy looks like a used car salesman. He's definitely up to no good. All smiles and no substance. I put on my most humble expression. You're too kind, Chef Tony. I'm just here to return the dishes. Tony took the tray from me and discreetly slipped a heavy pouch into my hand. You have the Empress's favor now, my boy. A little something for your troubles. Don't forget about us little people when you're on top. I squeezed it. Coins. Silver. A bribe. What does this guy want from me? Or is he one of Marcus Vance's lackeys, trying to get me on his side? I made a show of refusing. Oh, I couldn't possibly. It's my duty to serve Her Majesty. Nonsense, nonsense, Tony insisted, stuffing the pouch into my tunic. Anything you ever want to eat? Anything at all, you just say the word. I'll whip it up for you personally. An idea sparked in my mind. Perfect. Time to test the waters. And I really am craving something good. I pretended to reluctantly accept the pouch, then leaned in conspiratorially. Since you're being so generous, Chef, there is one small thing I'd like to ask. Anything for you? Her Majesty's appetite seems poor lately. She only eats porridge and simple things. I was wondering if we could make something new to pique her interest, I said, putting on my best loyal servant worried for his master face. Tony's expression immediately became troubled. Well, Her Majesty's diet is strictly regulated. I wouldn't dare change it without orders. Uh-huh. Something's fishy. A regulated diet? Why so bland? Did she request it? Or is someone arranging it this way? I hardened my tone. What? You're afraid to take responsibility for making the Empress a decent meal? Or does the royal kitchen simply not care about Her Majesty's health? That accusation hit its mark. Tony's face went pale. Never. Attendant Ethan, please. It's just, the royal physician has instructed that Her Majesty's stomach is weak. She must have a light diet, nothing greasy or spicy. A weak stomach? I doubt it. A woman who can snap a pen in half with her bare hands isn't frail. There's something else going on here. This chef and that physician, I need to check them out. I nodded as if in understanding. I see. It was my misunderstanding. Then we must follow the physician's orders. However, I leaned in close. I heard a shipment of fiery peppers just arrived from the southern provinces. You think you could, whip up a spicy Cajun gumbo for us servants? Just a little taste. I had deliberately named a dish that was both rich and incredibly spicy. The color drained from Tony's face. His eyes darted around nervously. You must be joking, attendant. Those peppers are incredibly expensive. They're reserved for the Queen Mother. The Queen Mother? As far as I know, the current Queen Mother is a devout vegetarian who lives in seclusion. What does she need with a mountain of hot peppers? This stinks. I bet those peppers are ending up in someone's private stash. My objective was complete. I clapped Tony on the shoulder with a smile. Just kidding, chef. Don't take it so seriously. I should be getting back. I turned and walked away, leaving Tony wiping beads of sweat from his forehead. On the way back, I pieced it all together. Even a place like the kitchen's was full of schemes. This palace was more complicated than I ever imagined. When I returned to the study, Serafina was resting with her eyes closed. I quietly resumed my post. Okay, that trip was worth it. Huge intel haul. 1. The Empress's diet is being sabotaged. Eating like that long-term would weaken anyone. 2. Chef Tony and the royal physician are probably in on it together. 3. They're likely skimming high-value goods from official shipments. And behind it all, I bet it's Marcus Vance, slowly trying to poison the Empress with 1,000 bland meals. A brilliant, subtle assassination plot. As I was deep in my analysis, the sleeping Empress spoke, her voice calm and even. You're back. Yes, Your Majesty. Did you have fun in the kitchens? My heart skipped a beat. Had she been listening to me the whole time? Crap, I forgot about her long-range psychic eavesdropping. She heard my entire internal conspiracy theory monologue, didn't she? Serafina slowly opened her eyes. They were crystal clear, not the least bit groggy. She looked at me, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. That Cajun gumbo. Sounds interesting. Tomorrow, I think I'll try some. The next day, when I delivered the royal command for Cajun gumbo to Chef Tony, his face turned the color of old guacamole. It was a spectacular sight, shifting from green to white before settling on a shade of horrified beige. Attendant Ethan, he stammered, you can't be serious. Her Majesty's Constitution. She can't possibly eat something so spicy. I folded my hands behind my back, mimicking Marcus Vance's smug posture. I'm just the messenger. It's a direct order from the Empress. Are you planning to disobey a royal command, chef? That's right. I'm riding her coattails. I'm her attack dog. Go ahead. Argue with me. The Empress is the one who's going to bite. Sweat poured down Tony's face. No, never. I'll get right on it. Right away. He scrambled back into the kitchen, his retreating form looking as pathetic as a squirrel who'd just had its nuts stolen. I waited outside, perfectly calm. I knew he had to make that gumbo, and I knew he'd try to warn his boss. Sure enough, a few minutes later, a young apprentice slipped out the back door of the kitchen, heading in the direction of Director Vance's quarters. The fish had taken the bait. At noon, I personally carried the food container back to the royal study. Serafina was still at her desk, not even looking up as she asked, Is it done? Yes, Your Majesty. I set the dishes on her table. Alongside the usual bland porridge and steamed vegetables, in the very center, sat a large bowl of deep red, aromatic Cajun gumbo. The rich, spicy scent instantly filled the room, overpowering the sandalwood incense. Serafina's nose twitched. She finally put down her documents. She stared at the bowl, a flicker of genuine curiosity in her eyes. Tempted, aren't you? I knew it. No one can resist the allure of actual flavor. Still, I wonder if they poisoned it. The moment that thought crossed my mind, Serafina's gaze snapped to me. You eat first. Damn it, I knew it. She's using me as her royal food tester. The cruelty of beautiful women knows no bounds. Despite my internal whining, my face was a mask of pure devotion, as if being her poison detector was the greatest honor of my life. I picked up a clean spoon, scooped up a piece of sausage and shrimp coated in the thick, spicy roux, and under Serafina's watchful gaze, I ate it. MMPH. Smoky, savory, spicy, incredible. The sausage was perfect, the shrimp tender, the broth a complex explosion of flavor on my tongue. This was the real deal. I closed my eyes in bliss. So good. This is so damn good. Even if it's poison, I don't care. To taste something from home one last time before I die. Totally worth it. Serafina watched my ecstatic expression, and I saw her swallow. She waited a moment, and seeing that I wasn't convulsing on the floor, she finally picked up her own spoon and took a small, hesitant bite. She ate delicately, as if expecting the flavor to attack her. Then she froze. Her cool, calm eyes widened just a fraction, sparkling with surprise. She chewed slowly, deliberately, as if trying to dissect a taste she'd never experienced before. How is it? Conquered by the power of real food. aren't you? See what you've been missing, drinking that slop every day? This is what living tastes like. Serafina ignored my internal commentary. She silently finished her bite, then took a second and a third. Soon a bowl of rice was gone. She put down her spoon, looking satisfied, and took a sip of tea. A faint flush, born from the spices, colored her cheeks, lending her icy face a touch of warmth and life. An interesting name for a dish, she commented lightly, and a very bold preparation. Hey, don't talk with your mouth full. Or, in this case, don't critique while you're enjoying the food. Guess I'm not so loud now, am I? Just then, the sound of frantic footsteps echoed from outside. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, you mustn't. The head of the royal physicians, Dr. Alastair, burst into the room, practically tumbling over his own feet. He was followed by a very concerned-looking Marcus Vance. They smelled the lingering spice in the air, saw the nearly empty bowl of gumbo on the table, and their faces went white with horror. Your Majesty, Alastair dropped to his knees, his voice choked with fake tears. Your body is in a delicate state. How could you consume such a harsh, spicy substance? This is poison. Which villain dared to tempt you so? I beg you to punish him. As he spoke, he shot me a look of pure venom. Vance knelt beside him, wringing his hands. I am at fault, Your Majesty. My oversight has allowed this traitor to get close to you. Please, hand this Ethan over to me. I will be sure to find out who he is working for. It was a perfectly rehearsed performance. They were planning to brand me an assassin, torture a confession out of me, and use it to frame whoever they wanted. Keep acting. You guys deserve an Oscar. You'll be crying for real in a minute. I stood to the side, head bowed, pretending to be terrified out of my mind. Serafina sat on her throne, her face unreadable. She didn't look at the two kneeling men. She looked at me. Ethan, they accuse you of trying to poison me. What do you have to say for yourself? My cue. I dropped to my knees, sobbing even more dramatically than Dr. Alastair. I've been framed, Your Majesty. My loyalty to you is as clear as the summer sky. I only saw you growing thinner by the day, and my heart ached for you. I just wanted to tempt your appetite. I am willing to die for my crime, but I beg you to see the truth. Emotion, check. Tears, check. A little bit of snot for authenticity, perfect. That should sell it. The corner of Serafina's mouth twitched, but she suppressed the smile. Dr. Alastair, she said, turning to the physician, you just said this dish is a deadly poison. It is the absolute truth. Alastair declared, Your Majesty's pulse is weak, your digestion is poor. Spice is the worst possible thing for you. One bite could cause terrible pain, and a bowlful. It could be fatal. Oh, Serafina raised an eyebrow. Then why is it that after eating half a bowl, I feel perfectly fine? In fact, I feel invigorated, and my appetite has returned. Alastair froze. That is, perhaps the poison has not taken effect yet. Your Majesty, allow me to take your pulse. That won't be necessary, Serafina cut him off. I know my own body. What I'm more concerned about is you, Doctor. As the head of the royal physicians, how could you so grossly misdiagnose my condition? Perhaps it's time for someone else to take your position. At those words, Alastair and Vance's faces turned the color of ash. Mercy, Your Majesty. Mercy. I was considering mercy. Serafina's voice dropped, becoming as cold as a winter wind. But tell me, were you ever planning to show mercy to me? She threw a scroll onto the floor in front of Vance. Director Marcus Vance, in conspiracy with royal physician Alastair Finch, has been using the excuse of caring for the Empress's health to tamper with my food, while simultaneously embezzling rare spices from the southern tributes and selling them for personal profit. It is all documented here. Do you have anything to say for yourselves? The scroll was the same one from the treasury she had been reading earlier. She had suspected them all along. She was just waiting for the right moment. And I, unknowingly, had become the bait she used to lure the snakes from their holes. Vance and Alastair collapsed on the floor, their faces gray with despair. They couldn't understand how their carefully laid plans had been discovered. Serafina rose from her throne and walked slowly until she stood right in front of me. She looked down, a glint of amusement in her eyes. You did well. Damn right I did. But let's be real, this Empress is a schemer. She knew everything and let me walk right into it, using me to smoke out her enemies. The hearts of royalty are as dark as the hearts of billionaires. However, she continued, her tone shifting, as a royal attendant for tempting your ruler and changing the royal menu without authorization. The punishment is also death. My blood ran cold. You've got to be kidding me. She's going to kill the getaway driver? Is there no honor among conspirators? I was about to launch into another tearful performance when she continued. But considering your loyal service in helping me expose these traitors, the death sentence is waived. She paused, then lowered her voice so only I could hear. Instead, your punishment is to tell my mind a new joke every day. As Vance and Alistair were dragged away, still screaming their innocence, I knew a new chapter had begun. Their guilt had been confirmed by Seraphina's own intelligence network long ago. My little gumbo stunt was just the public finale. My status in the palace changed overnight. Before, I was just some lucky eunuch. Now, I was the man who could make the Empress eat with appetite, the cunning servant who had brought down the powerful Director Vance. Of course, no one knew my real secret weapon was my internal monologue. Seraphina, for her part, seemed to have gotten addicted to our unique form of communication. During breaks from her work, she'd throw random questions at me. Ethan, what do you think of the new Secretary of the Interior? He's balder than I am, so he must be working hard, but his eyes shift around too much. He looks shifty. Keep an eye on him. Out loud, I'd say this servant is too ignorant to comment on matters of state. She would hear my real answer, nod thoughtfully, and make a small mark next to the secretary's name. Ethan, the cherry blossoms are in bloom today. What poem do you think suits the occasion? Last year, in this garden, her face and the blossoms shone bright. Now I don't know where the face is gone, but the blossoms still laugh in the light. Man, it makes me miss home. Out loud, I'd say this servant is illiterate, Your Majesty. After hearing my thoughts, she would actually pick up her brush, write down the verse, and stare at it, lost in thought. Our interactions grew stranger and more synchronized. I was the nonstop internal broadcast, and she was the silent, poker-faced receiver. We were like two spies communicating on a private, psychic frequency. Meanwhile, the sycophant system's missions were getting progressively weirder. System 007. Main questline unlocked. The Empress's troubles. First objective. Discover the reason for the Empress's insomnia. Reward. Skill photographic memory. Trial version. Insomnia? She's an Empress. It comes with the territory, running a country, dodging assassination plots. I'd be surprised if she could sleep at all. Late one night, I was on duty in the antechamber of the royal study. Seraphina was still inside, working. I leaned against a pillar, struggling to stay awake. Doesn't she ever sleep? Is she made of iron? I'm about to pass out standing up. Being a professional sycophant is exhausting. It's a mental and physical marathon. Just as I was about to drift off, I heard a loud clatter from inside. My eyes snapped open. I burst through the doors. Seraphina had slumped over her desk, unconscious. A candlestick lay on the floor, its flame dangerously close to a stack of official documents. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Forgetting all protocol, I rushed to her side and helped her up. Her skin was burning hot. She had a fever. I quickly lifted her into my arms. She was lighter than I expected, surprisingly so, and carried her toward her bed. As I did, I caught the faint scent of medicinal herbs. Just as I laid her down and was about to run for a physician, her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her grip was feverishly strong. Her eyes were squeezed shut, her brow furrowed in distress as she mumbled in her sleep. Father, don't leave me. Mother, it's so cold. I'm so cold. I froze. The formidable iron-willed Empress, the ruthless ruler who made generals tremble, was, in that moment, just a scared, vulnerable girl. It hit me then that she was only 20, about the same age I was before I ended up here. In my world, a 20-year-old is in college, hanging out with friends, still able to be a kid. She had the weight of an entire empire on her shoulders. So she gets scared, too. She gets cold. Beneath that armor of ice, there's a heart that just wants to be warm. I didn't know if she could hear me in her sleep, but I instinctively covered her hand with my own. It's okay, I whispered. I'm here. Whether it was my words or just a coincidence, the tension in her brow seemed to ease. At that moment, the system's notification chimed. System 007 ding. Host has made intimate contact with the target. Emotional connection has deepened. The Empress's troubles quest completion. 50%. System 007. Hidden storyline triggered. The Empress's demons. Childhood trauma has led to a weakened spirit, treated with sedatives that have minimal effect and cause long-term damage to her heart. This is the root cause of her insomnia and frailty. It all clicked into place. So, Dr. Alistair wasn't entirely lying about her delicate state. He was just using the wrong treatment, or rather, deliberately using a harmful one to worsen her condition. That night, I didn't call for a physician. I soaked a cloth in cool water and stayed by her side, gently dabbing her forehead. Sometime before dawn, her fever finally broke. Her breathing became deep and even. She was sleeping peacefully. It was the first time since I'd met her that I'd seen her look so untroubled. I watched over her, a strange feeling stirring in my chest. You know, when she's not being the terrifying Empress, she's actually kind of cute. Still has a bad temper, though, and a bad habit of eavesdropping on people's thoughts. The next morning, Serafina awoke. The first thing she saw was me, slumped over the edge of her bed, fast asleep. Her expression was complicated. I startled awake and immediately dropped to my knees. This servant deserves death. You stay with me all night? She interrupted, her voice a little hoarse. Yes. She was silent for a moment, then asked, did I say anything in my sleep? You did. You said you were cold and called out for your mom and dad. It was so adorable I almost died from the cuteness. Of course, I couldn't say that. I shook my head. You slept peacefully, Your Majesty. You said nothing at all. She gave me a long, searching look, as if trying to read the truth in my mind. But for the first time, my mind was perfectly quiet. Because in that moment, I wasn't an undercover agent analyzing a target, or a sycophant trying to complete a mission. I was simply a man trying to protect her rare moment of vulnerability. She seemed to hear that silence. She gave a soft and sat up. Relay my orders, she said to the maids waiting outside. From this day forward, Ethan is promoted to Lord Chamberlain, in charge of all affairs within the royal study. Furthermore, launch a full investigation of the royal physicians. Anyone connected to Marcus Vance is to be dealt with severely. She didn't look at me as she spoke, but I knew this was just the beginning of her counterattack. And I, the fake eunuch, had somehow gone from a bystander who just wanted to go home to a central figure in the storm. System 007. Main quest, the Empress's troubles complete. Roi, skill photographique memory, permanent. New main quest unlocked. Become her anchor. I looked out the window at the rising sun and sighed. Well, so much for escaping. It seems I'm stuck here. Damn my irresistible, inescapable charm. Across the room, Serafina's lips curved into a smile. 3 months after the palace coup was crushed, a semblance of peace finally settled over the Athelian court. The Queen Mother's faction had been dismantled, and the old guard who'd complained about my undue influence were either retired or counting stones in the dungeons. The royal study was quiet. The only sounds the scratching of my ink stick and the gentle rustle of Serafina turning pages. And, of course, the never-ending stream of my inner commentary. System 007, daily mission issued. Praise the Empress's new court dress using modern slang. Must be relatable and hilarious. Reward, plus 50 points, 1 Coca-Cola redemption coupon. My hand faltered. You gotta be kidding me. You want me to tap dance on a landmine? Her new dress is this severe black and gold phoenix thing. It screams final boss. How am I supposed to use modern slang for that? Compliment her on her murder chic aesthetic? Tell her she's got that dark feminine energy on lock? Serafina, deep in a trade agreement, paused her writing, the corner of her mouth twitching. She was wearing the dress in question. The gold thread phoenix feathers seemed to shimmer with life, making her skin look like porcelain and her eyes flash with authority. Hearing my thoughts, she spoke without looking up. Lord Chancellor, is there a problem with the ink? Chancellor, that's my title now. Ever since the assassination attempt where I single-handedly took down 3 attackers, nearly blowing my fake unit cover, the system had a moment of brilliance and issued an identity laundering emergency mission. The reward, an ancient noble lineage card, was a godsend. It turned out my body's original owner was the long-lost son of a war hero, hidden in the palace as a eunuch by the treacherous Marcus Vance to escape political enemies. Seraphina slapped that proof down on the table in front of the royal council, and the old men shut up instantly. The next day, the decree was issued. Ethan Cross, named Lord Chancellor, head of the royal council, with the right to attend the Empress at all times. The capital city went nuts. Who would have thought the quiet little attendant from the royal study would become the most powerful man in the empire overnight? Only I knew it was all because a certain mind-reading monarch had a personal agenda. What's so great about being chancellor? I have to read reports all day. It's more work than being a eunuch. Being a sycophant was way easier. All I had to do was think. I grumbled internally while grinding the ink faster. Seraphina put down her pen and looked up at me, a smile dancing in her eyes. What's wrong? Is being chancellor such a burden? Perhaps you prefer to go back to being my personal inner monologue clown? This servant wouldn't dare. I bowed quickly, my face a mask of humility, while my mind screamed, "It's your fault. You got addicted to my mental commentary and were scared I'd leave, so you chained me to this desk with a fancy title. You're a manipulative, scheming empress, and I have proof." She actually laughed, a clear, bright sound that startled the sparrows outside the window. She changed so much these past few months. The eyes had thought. She smiled. She bantered, and sometimes, when I'd mentally complain about the food, a plate of perfectly spicy gumbo would secretly appear for my dinner. Of course, I was the only one who saw this side of her. Just as I was enjoying my cushy new gig, the system chimed in again. System 007. Main quest update. Become her anchor. Current progress. 60%. Side quest triggered. Take the Empress out on the town, incognito. Let her experience a commoner's life. Time limit. 3 days. Penalty for failure. We're addressed to the Royal Council meeting for 3 consecutive days. You want me to do what? Address? System, you've gone too far. And how am I supposed to show an Empress a commoner's life? She's used to gourmet food and private gardens. She'll probably think street food is poison. We'll wander through a market, eat some snacks, act like a normal couple. Wait, couple. What am I thinking? My face flushed. I glanced up and met Seraphina's amused, knowing gaze. Damn it. She heard everything. A trip into the city, she said, rising from her desk. That sounds like an excellent idea. I'm curious to see what you consider a commoner's fun. I nodded, my voice tight. As you command, Your Majesty. My mind wailed, crap. There's no getting out of this one. The next evening, just as the sun began to set, I snuck out a side gate with Seraphina, both of us dressed in simple commoner's clothes. Without her imperial robes, she looked different, less imposing, more vibrant. The simple linen dress made her seem elegant and graceful, like a noble's daughter. She turned more than a few heads as we walked. Of course, a natural 10 looks good in anything. But Your Majesty, please try to be less conspicuous. You're going to get us recognized. I complained internally as I grabbed her wrist and pulled her into the bustling night market. 2 skewers of spicy sausage, extra hot sauce. Hey, how much for the candy sculpture? Give me a dragon. Candied apples. Sweet and sour candied apples. Miss, would you like to try one? I dragged her from one end of the market to the other like a kid in a candy store, juggling skewers, a candied apple, and a candy dragon. Seraphina seemed both amused and bewildered by my enthusiasm. She took a candied apple from me and took small, delicate bites, a little bit of sugar sticking to the corner of her mouth. She looked adorable. Oh my God, she's so cute. Is this really the same Empress who executes people without blinking? She looks like a little kid who just stole a cookie. I can't handle it. As I was staring, she looked up at me, her eyes shining in the lantern light. What are you thinking about? And nothing. I looked away, my ears burning. Just thinking how sweet this apple is. She chuckled softly, then reached up and gently wiped a smudge of hot sauce from the corner of my mouth. The cool touch of her fingertips sent a jolt through me. She touched me. Help! My heart is going to explode. While my brain was short-circuiting, a roar went up from a nearby crowd. We looked over and saw a street performer about to have a giant stone broken on his chest. The crowd cheered him on. Seraphina watched, fascinated. I leaned close to her ear. Want to give it a try, Your Majesty? She shot me a withering glare. Are you suggesting I lie down and let someone smash a rock on my chest? I wouldn't dare, I said, holding on my hands while my mind shot back. With your delicate frame, you'd have trouble cracking an egg on your chest, let alone a boulder. Just enjoy the show. Serafina reached out and pinched my side, not hard, but with a definite playful sting. A few people nearby saw our interaction and smiled knowingly. In that moment, everything felt right. No court intrigue, no system missions. Just the two of us, like any other couple, enjoying the noise and the lights and the simple peace of the evening. You know, staying here wouldn't be so bad. I can probably figure out how to invent Wi-Fi and Coke eventually. But if I miss my chance with her, I'll never get another one. The thought surprised me. For the first time since I arrived, I actually considered staying. Just then, the system's voice rang out. System 007. Host's emotional state has been verified. Main quest, become her anchor. Progress has reached 100%. Quest complete. Reward. Permanent residency permit. Wi-Fi generator blueprints. Complete Coca-Cola recipe database. Yes. System, you beautiful bastard. I love you. Serafina, who had been quiet, suddenly stopped walking and turned to face me. The lantern light played across her face, making her expression unusually serious. Ethan, she said, using my name. It was the first time she'd ever said it. In your heart, do you truly want to go home, or do you want to stay? The noise of the market seemed to fade away. I looked into her eyes, and all the conflict, all the doubt I'd been carrying just vanished. For once, I didn't hide behind my inner monologue. I looked right at her and said, clearly and honestly, I want to stay here with you, to see this empire prosper, and to spend every day of the rest of my life by your side. She looked stunned, as if she hadn't expected such a direct answer. After a long moment, a slow, beautiful smile spread across her face, her eyes crinkling at the corners, looking like they held all the stars in the sky. Good. That one word was all I needed. I couldn't help but grin back at her. Finally, no more sycophant act. I'm the Empress's man now. She heard me, of course. Her face flushed a brilliant red, and she playfully punched my arm. What nonsense are you thinking now? I laughed and took her hand, lacing my fingers through hers. The night market air was sweet with the smell of sugar and spices. Behind us were the 1,000 lights of the city. In front of me was the rest of my life. It was good. 3 months later, the royal decree was sent to every corner of the empire. The Empress was to be married. The Lord Chancellor would be her prince consort. The nation celebrated. On the day of the wedding, the capital was a sea of red silk and cheering crowds. I stood in our chambers, dressed in crimson wedding robes, and watched as Serafina walked toward me. In her phoenix crown and embroidered gown, she was breathtaking. Damn, she is so beautiful. That's my wife. My wife. Who's a fake eunuch now? I'm the Lord Chancellor of the Athelian Empire, and the Empress's husband. Serafina reached me and gently tilted my chin up, a smile in her eyes. Thinking naughty thoughts about me again, my lord? Never, I said, taking her hands in mine. I was just thinking that marrying a woman as wonderful as you must mean I did something right in a past life. She laughed and leaned in close, whispering in my ear. And I was thinking that being able to hear your thoughts is the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. Her warm breath tickled my ear. My heart hammered in my chest. I leaned down and kissed her. Outside, the moon was full and the stars were bright. The system's voice chimed one last time. System 007. Congratulations, host. You have completed the ultimate mission. Win the Empress's heart. Final reward. Full administrative rights to the Athelian Empire and a lifetime of happiness. I pulled her closer, my mind racing. The Empire is nice and all, but more importantly, I'm finally done being a professional sycophant. Now about that Coke recipe. Serafina laughed into our kiss. In our chambers, the red candles burned brightly, filling the room with a warm, gentle light. And outside our window lay the peaceful, prosperous empire we would rule together. End.